I thought this was going to be the longer video, but it's not. We're really just finding the slope this time. So if you remember that the parallel slopes are the same, or I should be careful. Parallel lines have the same slope. Parallel, same slope. And that perpendicular, perp, have opposite reciprocal. That's all we are practicing on this page. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna read the original slope. Okay, hold on. I'll make this a bit smaller. The original slope of this line, y equals 4 over 3x. Wow, that's beautiful because it's already solved for y. So this is in a form of y equals mx, right? So what's the slope here? Slope is 4 over 3. So I'll say m equals 4 over 3. If the slope of this line is 4 over 3, any line that is parallel to this line will have the same slope of 4 over 3. So the second question, what he's asking is, what is the slope of a line parallel to this line? Well, that will just be 4 over 3. I don't think you have to write these symbols when you're doing your homework, but I just want to keep on writing it, saying that the parallel slope is 4 over 3. What about the opposite reciprocals? I'm sorry. What about the perpendicular? Okay. What is the slope of a line perpendicular to this line? Now remember, to make perpendicular lines, their slope must be opposite in sign. So the perpendicular slope will be negative, because remember the original line was a positive slope. So I'll make a negative and make it the reciprocal, which means flip that fraction. So instead of 4 over 3, we're going to make it 3 over 4, and that is it. Just identifying slope of its perpendicular line and slope of a line that is parallel to this original line. So that's the goal of this page, okay? We have to practice this because the next objective is for us to be able to write equations. And in order for us to write equations, we need slope. That's why we are doing this page. All right, next one's kind of tricky. Do you guys see the slope in front of x? Whenever I ask them this question, they always say, oh, the slope is negative x. But look, slope is a number, it's not an x. So, I think it will be helpful if I write it as negative 1x minus 1. Because now it's clear to us that the coefficient of x is negative 1. So the slope of the original line is negative 1. Write that down, please. We're going to say m equals negative 1. Which means to be parallel to this original line, a line should have a slope of negative 1, the same slope as the original, okay? Now, let's do the perpendicular. To be perpendicular, it needs to have opposite sign, right? So, the original line was negative, so the perpendicular line will have a positive slope. And what's the reciprocal of negative 1? Okay, it's a number, right? So what you can do is you can put a 1 over it. And then you can imagine flipping that fraction. But hey, that's silly because 1 over 1 flipped is still 1, right? So guess what? The perpendicular slope is just positive 1. And remember our textbook, they did say if lines are perpendicular, their slopes will multiply to give you negative 1. If I multiply negative 1 times positive 1, their product is definitely negative 1. So yes, if the original slope is negative 1, the perpendicular slope better be positive 1. Okay, so that was interesting. Now, A and B, the two examples that we just went over, the equations were already written in slope-intercept form. And I believe these are broken down into two separate ALEKS homework topics. C and D, I'm going to give you something a little more challenging. Equations are in standard form. So what you have to do first is rewrite it. So let me rewrite this 3x plus 6y equals negative 2 so that we have y equals mx plus b form. I'm going to start by moving this 3x to the other side because I want to have y by itself. If I do that, I will get 6y equals what kind of 3x? Remember, it used to be positive on the left. When I go across the equal sign, it's going to be minus 3x because what we did secretly is just subtracting 3x. Bring down that minus 2 after it. All right, we're almost done. We now have to divide everything by 6 to cancel out that 6 getting multiplied to that y. All right, let us simplify. The left side of the equal sign, the 6 will cancel out, leaving us with y equals. Now I'm going to circle I'm going to highlight the slope for you here, okay? The slope is negative 3 over 6. Well, 3 is half of 6, so I can reduce this fraction as negative 1/2 x minus, well, we don't really need the y-intercept, but all right, I'll go ahead and make it perfect by reducing this too. 2 over 6 reduced is 1 over 3. So what we truly care about over here is that the slope of the original line is negative 1 over 2. Which means to be parallel to this line, a line should have the same slope of negative 1 over 2, right? What about the perpendicular? To be perpendicular, it needs to have opposite in signs. So perpendicular slope will be not negative, but that will be positive. And you have to flip this fraction 1 over 2. So you're going to get 2 over 1. 2 over 1. And of course, we can simplify this. The perpendicular slope is equal to simply positive 2. Okay? So definitely more work because we had to rewrite this in y equals mx plus b form before you tell the slope. I've seen students making mistake before, like they would say, oh, the slope of this line is 3 because 3 is the number in front of x, or 3 is the coefficient of x. But that's not what we should do, because in order for you to do that, it needs to be in slope-intercept form. So whenever it's in standard form, rewrite this in slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, so that we can identify the slope, okay? So let me do one more practice with you, very similar one down here, okay? Consider the line 8x minus 4y equals 5. Y is not by itself. So I'm going to start by moving the 8x to the right. That will give me negative 4y equals negative 8x. Now, the positive 5 was a positive number, so go ahead and do plus 5 after it, okay? Divide everything by what? Negative 4. Divide everything by negative 4. If you do that, the equation turns into y equals, let me highlight the slope here. If you do negative 8 divided by negative 4, the slope is 2. And the y-intercept, I'm dividing positive number by negative number, so that's just going to be minus 5 over 4. So let's identify this slope. The original slope is 2. So slope is 2, which means any line that is parallel to this line should have a slope of 2. And to be perpendicular to this line, it needs to be opposite reciprocal. So it has to be a negative number. And if you flip the number 2 over 1, because 2 is 2 over 1, if you flip this, guess what you get? You get 1 over 2. So that is how you can tell, that is how you can find slope of a line either parallel or perpendicular to the given line, okay? So I went over 4 examples, 2 of each on this page, and I'll come back and show you a slightly different type of problem. We're going to look at 3 different lines in the next video.